about secret homosexuality.
So should people be aware cameras are on? Like cameras are on?
Jaden Smith is gay.
Oh.
His first lover was Tyler, the Creator.
For years, the Smith family has been seen as one of Hollywood's most unique and unconventional dynasties. But what if the image we've all been watching was only part of the story? That question started gaining serious traction when actor Orlando Brown suddenly stepped into the spotlight with claims that immediately grabbed attention. At first, people brushed it off as another random outburst, something the internet would laugh at and move on from. But instead of fading away, the conversation grew louder. Clips began resurfacing, old interviews were re-examined, and fans started connecting moments that once seemed harmless. What made this situation different wasn't just the claim itself, but how quickly people began to revisit the past with a new perspective. It was as if one statement had opened a door that had been quietly waiting for years. And once that door cracked open, it didn't take long before people started looking much deeper into moments that once felt like jokes, but now carried a completely different weight. One of the most talked about moments came from a live performance where Jaden Smith stood in front of a crowd and made a statement that instantly divided the audience. With a smile that made it hard to read whether he was serious or not, he declared that Tyler, the Creator, was his boyfriend. The crowd reacted with laughter and cheers, treating it like a joke, a playful moment between two friends known for their eccentric personalities. But not everyone was convinced it was just humor. Some fans noticed the confidence in how he said it, the lack of hesitation, and the fact that it wasn't immediately walked back. As the clip spread online, it took on a life of its own. People debated whether this was a hidden truth disguised as humor, or simply a moment designed to entertain. The ambiguity made it even more powerful. Because when something can be interpreted in multiple ways, it keeps people talking. And in this case, it didn't just keep people talking, it made them start questioning everything they thought they knew about Jaden. To understand why that moment hit so differently, many began looking at the environment Jaden was raised in. The Smith household has never followed traditional norms, and both Will and Jada have openly embraced a lifestyle centered around freedom, expression, and breaking societal expectations. Over the years, there have been public moments that left audiences confused, intrigued, or even uncomfortable. These weren't just isolated incidents. They painted a picture of a family that approached life in a way that most people aren't used to seeing. Supporters praised them for being open-minded and progressive, while critics argued that the lack of boundaries might have long-term effects. As people revisited interviews, public appearances, and family interactions, a narrative began to form. Not one based on facts alone, but on interpretation. And that interpretation led many to believe that Jaden's actions and statements might not be random at all, but rather a reflection of the environment he grew up in. And that realization shifted the focus away from just him and directly onto his parents. As the conversation expanded, attention turned toward Will Smith in a way it never had before. A man known for decades as one of the most charismatic and respected figures in entertainment suddenly found himself at the center of a wave of allegations. A former associate, Brother Bilal, came forward with claims that were as shocking as they were controversial. According to him, there were moments behind closed doors that told a completely different story from the public image everyone had accepted. These claims spread rapidly, fueled by interviews and online discussions that dissected every detail. But what made things even more intense was the response. Will's team immediately denied everything, calling the accusations completely false, while Jada publicly dismissed them as an attempt at financial gain. Legal action was mentioned, drawing a clear line between the two sides. Yet instead of ending the conversation, it only made people more curious. Because when something is denied that strongly, it often keeps the story alive even longer. And just like that, the narrative grew bigger than one claim. It became a debate about truth, perception, and what really happens behind the scenes in Hollywood. While the rumors surrounding Will continued to circulate, another chapter of the story resurfaced and added even more complexity. Jada Pinkett Smith's relationship with August Alsina had already made headlines before, but when people revisited it in this new context, it felt different. What was once described as an entanglement was later acknowledged as a full relationship, one that happened during a time when August was dealing with serious personal struggles. The situation raised difficult questions, not just about the relationship itself, but about the circumstances surrounding it. August spoke openly about how deeply he was involved, even suggesting that he had received approval beforehand. That detail alone shifted the narrative from a private matter to something much more layered. Public reactions were split. Some defended the situation as a personal choice between adults, while others viewed it as something far more complicated. The debate intensified when people considered the emotional state August was in at the time and how that may have influenced everything. And as the conversation grew, one detail stood out more than anything else: his connection to Jaden. The deeper people looked into the situation, the more it seemed like Jaden wasn't just a distant observer, he was directly connected to it. August Alsina wasn't just a random figure in the family's life, he was someone Jaden had a personal relationship with. That connection added a completely different layer to the story, turning it from a celebrity controversy into something much more personal. Fans began speculating about how this may have affected Jaden emotionally, especially considering the timeline of events. Around that period, noticeable changes in his behavior started to appear. He became more distant in interviews, more unpredictable in public appearances, and more expressive in ways that people didn't fully understand. Some interpreted it as growth and independence, while others saw it as a reaction to deeper issues. The truth remains unclear, but what's undeniable is that the situation placed Jaden in a position that very few people could relate to. And as more moments surfaced, the curiosity around his behavior only intensified, leading to even more questions about what he might have been dealing with internally. In recent years, several public appearances have added fuel to the ongoing speculation. These weren't major scandals or headline-making incidents, but rather small, unexpected moments that left people confused. During interviews, Jaden sometimes responded in ways that seemed disconnected, or chose to walk away entirely without explanation. On red carpets, where celebrities are usually polished and prepared, he occasionally appeared distant or uninterested, creating an unusual contrast with the environment around him. Even casual videos began to attract attention, with viewers analyzing his tone, reactions, and behavior for hidden meaning. Individually, these moments might not seem significant, but when viewed together, they formed a pattern that people couldn't ignore. Some saw it as the natural result of growing up in the spotlight, while others believed it pointed to something deeper. And in the age of social media, where every action is analyzed and replayed, even the smallest detail can become part of a much bigger narrative. Which brings everything back to the same question that started it all. After all the clips, claims, interviews, and speculation, one thing remains unchanged. There is no confirmed truth behind any of it. What exists instead is a collection of moments that can be interpreted in countless ways, depending on who is watching. Some believe the rumors hold weight, pointing to patterns and connections that seem too consistent to ignore. Others dismiss it all as coincidence, exaggerated by the internet's tendency to turn speculation into perceived reality. And then there are those who simply watch from the sidelines, unsure of what to believe, but unable to look away. Because at the end of the day, this story isn't just about one person or one family. It's about how quickly narratives can form, how easily perception can shift, and how powerful curiosity can be. The truth may never fully come to light, or it might be far simpler than anyone expects. But until that moment comes, the conversation continues, and the mystery remains exactly where it started, just beneath the surface.